The 18th Siddha tradition, first chapter. The tradition of the 18 Siddhas. The supreme masters of yoga can be best understood and appreciated by reviewing their history, their teachings, and their contributions to the fields of yoga, medicine, and aligned sciences such as alchemy and chemistry, as well as to current research with regards to the ancient manuscripts which they have left behind. History of the 18th Siddha tradition. The history of the Siddhas is yet to be written. At the present time, it consists of a loose collection of works, usually on palm leaf, manuscripts threatened by white ants and decay, or in poorly printed edition, without the benefit of scholarly editing. Written in old, complicated, and often abstruse Tamil, the Siddhas' works are extremely neglected. Whenever the Siddhas use ambiguous language, it is on purpose. They are obscure because they want to be obscure. Their obscure language is an important device by the means of which they can at the same time address both a casual listener as well as an adept of great spiritual awareness who reads a deep mystic interpretation into their verses. The texts are closed mystic treasure box bounded by the lock of ignorance, and only a practicing Siddha yogi is able to unlock the poems and reveal their true meaning. Jewelable 1973, page number 229. Nonetheless, they are extremely valuable because they hold like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. The keys of the fundamental secrets of life from the standpoint of yoga, medicine, physiology, alchemy, chemistry, botany, and metaphysics. Also, as Jewelable concludes, a knowledge of the works of the sitter Siddhas is absolutely necessary to have a correct perspective of the civilization of the Tamils, of their religious, social, and literary history. 1973, page number 236. Evidence of the history of the Siddha tradition comes from a number of fields, including legend, geology, archaeology, paleobiology, genealogy, astronomy, ancient literature, and linguistics. Much research must still be done in the above fields before the historical periods associated with the oldest of the 18 Siddhas can be definitely fixed. Jewelable 1973, page number 2020-2021. The oldest include Nandi, Agasthyar, Tirumular, and Bhoganathar. The others have been fixed by historical references as having lived during the period from the 4th to the 12th centuries AD. The lost continent of Kumari Kandam. Silapadikaran, one of the five celebrated Tamil epics written in the 1st century AD by Ilango Adigal, makes frequent references to a vast tract of country called Kumari Nadu and now identified as Lemuria or Gondwana land by European scholars, extending far beyond the present Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip of modern India, lying submerged in the Indian Ocean. It is said that ancient Madurai, Teen Madurai, was the seat of the Tamil Sangam Literary Academy, and Kavatapuram or Muttur was the capital of the Pandyan kingdom. The Tamil commentators Atiyar Kulannar, Chiyarikniyar, and Ilam Puranar mention the submersion of the two rivers Kumari and Pahroli in Tamilakam. Shilapadikaram says that the distance between these two rivers was 700 kavadam, about 100 miles, and that it was divided into Tahga, Madurai, Manpalai, Pinpalai, Kundra, Kunakkarai, and Kurumparai Nadus states, each containing 7 Nadus or 49 in all. The country was interspersed with mountains with a bewildering variety of flora and fauna of a bygone age. Mahalingam, 1983, page number 205. Peninsular India extended from Kanyakumari, forming a sprawling continent touching Africa in the west, Australia in the south, and occupying a large portion of the Indian Ocean. From 30,000 BC to 2700 BC, natural cataclysmic landslips occurred as a result of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, which periodically affected the surface of the earth and the ocean beds. As the continent of Lemuria was sinking in the western portion, people migrated to Asia, Australia, and the lands of the Pacific. The Lemurians also colonized North and South America, the Nile Valley, where they founded the Egyptian civilization and the continent of Atlantis between Europe and North America. Mahalingam 1983, page number 201. One of the most prominent of the mountains in Lemuria was the Manimalai, where precious stones like ruby was mined. Much gold was mined from this Meru mountain. This gave rise to an ancient proverb in Tamil. Meruvai Chernatha Kakamun Ponnam, which means where near the mountain of gold. Even the crow is gold. It is said that Chinese laborers were employed by the Pandyan king, and when they went down the mines from the surface, they appeared like a huge army of small ants. This is confirmed by ancient Chinese chronicles. The Meru mountain has 49 peaks. By its side flowed the Peru Aru on either side of two other rivers, the Kumari and the Pahroli. Mahalingam 1983, page number 205. Sir T.W. Holderness, in his scholarly work People and Problems of India, has written the peninsular India south of the Vindhyan mountains is geologically distinct from the Indo-Gangetic plain and the Himalayas. It is the remains of a former continent which stretched continuously to Africa in the space now occupied by the Indian Ocean. The rocks of this land mass formed are among the oldest in the world. Mahalingam 1983, page number 203 204. Geological evidence of Gondwana land. As first theorized by the German geologist Wagner in the 1930s and later proved by geophysical research and other projects, the continents of Africa, Australia, Peninsular India, South America, Ceylon, and Antarctica were at one time joined like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, but later drifted apart like moving plates with a few parts sinking into the ocean. Strahler, 1972, page number 303. Thus, modern geology's plate tectonics confirms what was sometimes thought of a myth by early European Indologists in the 19th century. According to numerous paleomagnetic data on the India-Asia collision, Kukal Patriot et al. 1990. Subduction of the Indian plate under the Eurasian plate began 110 million years ago. The Indian plate moved northwards at an average rate of 49.9 plus or minus 4.5 centimeters per year from 70 million years ago until about 40 million years ago, when it slowed to its present rate of 5.2 plus or minus zero point 0.8 centimeters per year. Kukal, 1990, page number 46. Furthermore, Professor A.C. Seward of Cambridge University has pointed out in his book Plant Life Through the Ages that based upon fossil evidences, the first vascular plants lived during the Devonian period, that is 405 to 345 million years ago. Professor Edward Bulliamy and his collaborators, based on plant fossils, have drawn 6 ancient landscapes of the world during various geological periods going as far back as 405 million years ago. Srinivasan, 1986, has pointed out that a study of these maps reveals that the only portion of the world that has been in continuous existence as land is southern India, while all the other countries of the world has been submerged in the ocean either in part or fully during some period or other since 405 million years. This has permitted the development of a culture of unusual antiquity and stability. Among the previously listed places associated with the 18 Siddhas, except for Kashi, Banaras, and Poyur, Girnar, all of them are in southern India. It is no coincidence that this area is also, according to geology, amongst the oldest land masses of the world, and that it has never been covered over by the ocean during the geological ages. Near the city of Madras at Pallavaram are some of the oldest rock formations in the whole world. The ancient literature written by the Siddhas speaks of the movement of continents and of seismic activity. Ramaya, 1968, page number 128. When by the erosion of the Vindhyan mountains, the Indo-Gangetic Sea became filled and the Deccan traps were formed in the Tamil peninsula. The Siddha Agastya moved to the Pothigai mountains north of what is now Trivandrum. The literary and cultural civilization of the Yoga Siddhas was born here and has continued to this day without a break. Later, Agastya and the Tamils migrated to what is now known as Java in Indonesia and Cambodia. This is confirmed by the archaeological evidence found in the temples in both of these areas. In Java, one even finds a huge ancient temple dedicated to Agastya. The temple of Angkor Wat in Cambodia is laid out according to the principles found in the writings of the Siddhas. There are also references in the Siddha literature to the huge ancient continent. Kumari Kandam, with its epicenter in what is now the southernmost tip of southern India. Archaeological remains of the Indus Valley civilization. 2. Appreciate the historical and cultural context from which Kriya Yoga Siddhanta developed. A brief review of the Dravidian civilization, the world's oldest inappropriate. The impressive remains of the Indus Valley civilization at Mohenjo-daro in Sindh and at Harappa in the western Punjab, excavated during the years 1921 to 22 by Sir John Marshall, the then Director General of Archaeology in India, present to us the earliest picture of India's past. The civilization was archaic, yet highly developed and must have taken thousands of years to attain that stage. Historians observe that it was a civilization of pre-Vedic people of ancient India that existed 8 to 10,000 years before the Christian era. Recent excavations at Meghar in Pakistan, under the direction of French archaeologist Jean Francois Juris, director of the Guimet Museum of Paris, have pushed back the date of the Harappan civilization to about 8000 BC. Sometimes have been given carbon 14 dates older than 10,000 BC excavation of nearby Naushahro, also in Baluchistan, indicates the growth of urban centers which later developed into large cities with population of over 80,000 people. These excavations now confirm the antiquity of the civilization as having existed before that of Mesopotamia and some 2500 years before that of Egypt. At its prime, Mohenjo-daro was the largest city in the world. Sinha, 1989, page number 2941. These findings have revolutionized the very concept of history in India. Sir John Marshall tells us among the many revelations that Mohenjo-daro and Harappa have had in store for us, none perhaps is more remarkable than the discovery that Shaivism has a history going back to the Chalcolithic age, Copperstone 8000 to 3000 BC, or perhaps even further still, and that it thus takes its place as the most ancient living faith in the world. In their book Vedic Aryans and the Origins of Civilizations, David Frawley and Navaratna Rajaram argue that contrary to the theory long held by scholars, there was no invasion of Dravidian India in ancient times by Aryan tribes from Central Asia. On the contrary, they argue a Vedic culture developed in the Indus River Valley before 4000 BC, and that the Dravidian civilization of southern India was an offshoot of their older Vedic culture. Frawley, Rajaram, 1995, page number 274, 75, 310 to 311. The Aryan invasion theory has been created by the German scholar Max Muller in 1854 as part of a scheme by the British who financed Muller's scholarship as part of a plan to convert India to Christianity. Muller used the term Aryan to refer to a race which originated in Central Asia and which spread south to India and west throughout Europe. But 20 years later, when it was embraced by German nationalists to promote their own political agenda, he reversed himself and insisted that Aryan referred only to a family of Indo European languages. Frawley and Rajaram have demonstrated that there was no factual basis for his famous theory. Frawley Rajaram, 1995, page number 3139. Michael Demino has gathered evidence from archaeological, numismatic, and literary sources which demonstrates that in ancient times there was great cultural interaction between the northern Vedic and southern Dravidian people, not from any imposition but in a natural and peaceful manner. Damino 2001, page number 15. The historian M.G.S. Narayan finds in Tamil Sangam literature no trace of another indigenous culture other than what may be designated a tribal and primitive. He concludes the Aryan Dravidian or Aryan Tamil dichotomy envisaged by some scholars may have to be given up, since we are unable to come up with anything which could be designated as purely Aryan or purely Dravidian in the character of South India of the Sangam age. Narayan, page number 128. In April 2002, a term of British and Indian divers discovered 1 mile of the coast of Mahabalipuram, just south of Chennai, Madras, the remains of what might be the ancient legendary city of seven temples. History records that only one of the temples, the famous shore temple, survived the flooding from the ocean. The site has huge structures intact, including pillars, steps, altars, and temples. The National Institute of Oceanography has estimated the date of the flooding to 1200 to 1500 years ago. The British, however, have not been able to correlate any tectonic movement of this coast significant to have caused flooding of an entire city during the last 5000 years. They claim that it must have been flooded like other coastal civilizations around the globe due to the melting of ice sheets between 15,000 and 7,000 years ago. Scientific Exploration Society, 2002. The continuous tradition of the Indus civilization can also be seen in southern India, especially in the Tamil land. The neem tree was regarded a sacred in the Mohenjo-daro civilization. In the annals of the ancient Siddha system of medicine, the first medicinal plant mentioned was also the neem or margosa. This has been used by the Indians from time immemorial as a deterrent for smallpox and other infectious diseases. Margosa is also associated with the mother goddess Kali and the people Bodhi tree as the abode of the supreme Shiva, the godhead. Every well known temple in southern India has a holy tree, usually with stone carvings of erect intertwined serpents associated with the goddess Shakti or stone Shiva lingams. Velan, 1963, page number 43. The most ancient civilization in the whole world is a Shiva Yogic civilization. The Shivalingams and famous talisman seals discovered in the archaeological ruins at Mohenjo-daro and at many other places. Zimmer, 1972, page number 168. These depicted a figure of a yogi seated in the yogic Siddhasana posture, hands in the Gnana Yoga Mudra, symbol of wisdom, with the trident symbol of the god Shiva in the background. He is wearing the sacred thread and is surrounded by animals. He represents Shiva as Pashupatinath, or Lord of the animals or individual souls. Unlike the civilization of Mesopotamia, Greece, Egypt, Rome, and the Incas, that of Saiviti lives on. It has done so largely through the influence and inspiration of the Siddhas. Their efforts will be described in the next few chapters. The Tamil Sangams of Literature. An ancient academy of Tamil literature known as the Sangam existed for a considerable period. During the pre-Christian period, the 9th century AD grammatical work, the Arayanar Agarporul Urai narrates its history. The Pandyan kings founded three Sangams. The Siddha Agastya was the head of the first and second Sangams. The first one latest for 4400 years and had its headquarters at Dakshina Mathura until it was inundated by the sea. The second Sangam lasted for 3700 years with its headquarters at Kavatapuram until it was swallowed by the sea. The last Sangam was at Uttaramadura, or the modern city of Madura, and latest for 1850 years. It is thought by some to have ended around 300 AD. The shifting of the Pandyan capital after the deluge of Kavatapuram is a probable historical fact. The change of the capital of the Pandyan kings is confirmed by other literary references and corroborated by the Roman writer Pliny in the 2nd century BC, who refers to the transfer of the capital from Korkai to Madurai. The incident of the sea swallowing 700 kavadam, or approximately 1000 miles of the Pandyan territory, is arrested by a reference in the Silapadikanam, 1st century AD. Parasiriar, in his commentary on the Tolkapian, calls this lost territory Panai Nadu. The seat of the second Sangam, Kavatapuram, is mentioned in the Ramayana and the Arthashastra of Kautilya. In the Ramayana, Sugriva says to the messenger monkey, having reached Kavata, suitable for the Pandyan kings, rich in gold, celestial, and adorned with pearls and gems. O Vanaras, look for Sita there. Pillai, 1979, page number 221 223. The Ramayana took place during the Treta Yuga age. Kalyana Sundaram, 1989, page number 7 to 11. It was Agastya who gave shape to Tamil with a simple grammar called Agasthyam. The Agastya grammar literature having been washed away by the deluge, what we have now as the earliest Tamil literature is Tolkapian, the second grammar written by Agastya disciple Tolkapianar, It is in Kalavial of Tolkapian that we have the annotation of Erayanar, who gave a short history of the two earlier Sangams, their kings, poets, and their works. There it is stated that among the second Sangam, members were Irundayur, Karun Kozi, Vallur Kappiyun, and Tuvarai Koman, Moose, Tirayan Maran. The Tamil Lexicon 1930, volume 4th, page number 1993 explains that Tuvarai is Dwaraka and Koman means Lord. Tuvarai Koman is correctly identified as Lord Krishna, the Lord of Dwaraka. The Tolkappiyam, the second grammar, is also old as 2500 BC. The Tamil literature prior to 2800 BC was all washed away by the deluge that sank the greater portion of the country Tamilagam. It was King Mahakirti Pandyan who presided over the Arangetram of Tolkapiyan. This Pandyan king reigned in about 2300 BC Mahalingam 1983 page number 110. KD Sethna used genealogical records and astronomical data to fix the data of the Mahabharata war in 3138 BC, in which Lord Krishna participated. Sethana 1988 page number 55. This has been strongly corroborated by epigraphic evidence. For example, the Janamejaya copper plate gift inscription of 3012 BC. Janamejaya is Arjuna's great grandson and he endorsed the gift of land for the temple of Sri Sita and Sri Rama on the banks of Tungabhadra. This inscription finds authentic mention in the Indian antiquary, page number 333, 334, and is cited also in Kota Venkatachalam's Ancient Hindu History, Part 1, page number 13 to 15, Mahalingam, 1983, page number 111. Evidence of extensive communication with distant lands, the antiquity of the Tamil poets whose works were approved by these Sangams is substantiated by the fact that the capital cities of the Tamil kingdoms and the seaports thereof, as stated in their poetry, correspond exactly with those mentioned in the works of foreign travelers. Ptolemy, Pliny, and in the Periplus Maris Erythrae of Egypt, these foreign visitors furnish us valuable information regarding the export trade of medicines, spices, and animal products like ivory, pearl, etc to other civilized parts of the world. The Arabs and Greeks also seem to have traded actively with southern India. The historian P.T. Srinivas Iyengar, in his works on pre-Aryan Tamil culture and history of the Tamils, says that medicinal products like ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, pepper, etc., were sent from southern India to Rome. The names in Greek for ginger and cinnamon are identical with the names in Tamil. Pliny had good cause to complain of the heavy drain of Roman gold to southern India in buying costly pearls, ivories, spices, drugs, etc. The findings of Roman coins dating from the reign of Augustus, buried at different parts of Tamil country, and the records of foreign visitors bear ample testimony to the fact that commercial and cultural relations existed between southern India and the civilized world. The foreign merchants who came to Tamil land were all called Yavanas in Tamil literature, which is said to be the derivation of the Greek word Ionos, being the name of the Greek nation. Valen 1963, page number 26. The correspondence of the southern Indian civilization with that of others in ancient times is also noteworthy and indicates its advanced state of development. Megasthenes, the Greek historian, 300 BC, in his account of India refers to Tamilagam, the use of Tamil words in the Hebrew Bible for the commodities like ivory, apes, and peacocks imported into Middle East from Tamil seaports clearly shows that maritime intercourse between southern India and Judah flourished at the time of David and Solomon. Valen 1963, page number 25-26. There is overwhelming evidence that Central and South America were colonized more than 2000 years ago by spiritual teachers from India. The history of Mexico, an official publication of the government of Mexico states. Those who first arrived on the continent later to be known as America were groups of men driven by the mighty current that set out from India towards the east. The sculptured remains of deities such as Shiva and the elephant headed Ganesha founded in temples from Mexico to Peru and from Bolivia to Honduras, as well as the religious customs and beliefs, pyramids, vocabulary, arts, calendar, innumerable little practices, and even the game known as Parcheesi reveals what the Spanish conquistadors and priests failed to destroy. The Asia and the Americas had extensive communication. The legends of the Incas, Mayans, Aztecs, and others regarding the founding of their cultures by tall, bearded, white robed teachers who were able to work miracles with fire and rain also confirms the claims made by the Siddhas of their extensive voyages to distant lands. Lal 1965, page number 20, 131, 203. Linguistics. One of the great discoveries of modern linguistics is that nearly 80% of the world's languages are derived from Tamil, the language of southern India. Proceedings 1980, hundreds of words having the same sound and meaning are found in Tamil. And such far-flung language groups as Japanese, Mongolian, Turkish, and the languages of the Polynesian and Southern American Incas, Lal, 1965, page number 124 to 126. Many linguistics are now actively endeavoring to trace the influence of the ancient Tamil civilization on the world. The teachings of Siddhantam. According to Siddhantam, or the teachings of the Siddhas, the human body is a temple of God. Man is a miniature representation of Paramatma, Supreme Intelligence. The purpose of life is to realize God and to manifest that realization in all planes of existence. It is possible for man to get over the five limitations of Narai: grey hair, Terai, dim vision, Muppu, old age, Noi, disease, and Maranam, death. It was possible, according to the Siddhas, to maintain eternal youth. Man's body is so peculiarly constructed as to contain several principal psycho-energy centers known as chakras, which when stimulated by yogic practices awaken one's higher spiritual faculties. These practices of Kriya Yoga Siddhantam bring about the final perfection in the realization and manifestation of God or truth. By perfecting these practices, eight great supernatural powers, Siddhis, may manifest as enumerated by Tirumular Velun, 1963, page number 39. One of the oldest of the Siddhas in his magnum opus Tirumandiram, these are anima, the power of becoming as small as the atom at will. 2. Mahima, expansion, the power of expanding oneself without limit. 3. Karima, the power of becoming heavy at will. 4. Lahima, lightness, the power of becoming as light as feather. 5. Prapti, the faculty of knowing everything, past, present, and future, and to reach anywhere, even to other planets and stars. 6. Prahamyam, the power to achieve all one's desires, absolute nearness of the mind and senses. 7. Isitvam, supreme power over both animate and inanimate objects throughout the universe. 8. Vasitvam, the power of command over all by thought or word. Throughout the writings of the Siddhas, one finds references to one of their greatest achievements, Sorubha Samadhi, which means the life immortal. For example, the Siddha Romarishi in his Nanam Song of Wisdom, verse 12 sings, what is the sign of Saurabha Mukti? True liberation of body and spirit. The physical body glows with the fire of immortality. Ramaya, 1968, page number 11, Jewelable, 1973, page number 228. In a subsequent verse, he explains that the span of life is inversely proportional to the rate of breathing. The truth of this great law is discussed in a subsequent chapter on the psychophysiology of Kriya Kundalini Pranayama. The yogas thus insist on a deathless perfection of body here on earth. They are the Shiva Siddhar, the yogis of divine perfection who know how the universal space of infinity enters into and becomes unified within the supreme infinity, grace, universal Shakti, enters into and is contained within grace, supreme Shakti, light, universal light, enters into and is held with the supreme light. According to Tirumandiram, verse number 124. Tulasiram, 1980, page number 584. The following quotations illustrate the thought of three of the 18 Siddhas. Following metamorphosis of the body, remain firm and stand, unwavering on Tillai, Chidambaram, shrine, the mountain of divine light. Realize thou in the sacred writings and pranas. Make divine the five sense elements. Conquer the ego, even till death. Lose which blinds is destroyed. Towards the breathless state you will be drawn. God Himself adorned with the cobra is nothing but ourself. Seek this and see for yourself. Sundarandar's synopsis of wisdom, verse 11, based upon unpublished translation of Yogi S.A.A. Ramaya. The following verses are English translations from Gorakhnath's Siddhanta Padati, SSP. Not by hearing Vedanta, not by teaching sentences like that thou art, not by repeating words like Hamsa, Soham, not even by imagining the unity of the individual self and the universal self, not by meditation, not by laya, either can one attain the state. Only he who is immersed, all knowing, expert in miraculous powers, having own will svecha, the yogin, the self doing by his merest desire, leelaya, one who does not age or does not die. SSB CH 5, chapter 5, stanza 32 and 33. The Guru, who is capable of making each man's soul circulate within himself and illustrate him all over by his own power, Swayam, and knows the world by seeing within himself with complete equanimity, Samatva, is truly an Avaduta. SSP, chapter 6, stanza 15. Shiva is within Shakti and Shakti is within Shiva. When Shakti is unmanifest, Shiva is absolute and alone. When Shakti is in a state of becoming, Shiva appears like the creator. Mokakshi Punekar, page number 43, 44, 51, 52, 57. Pambatti was a snake charmer before becoming a Siddha. He would go into the forest to catch snakes, often breaking down ant hills. Once, in so doing, he found inside the ant hill a Siddha named Sattamuni, who has been practicing austerities there for many years. Sattamuni persuaded him to give up haunting snakes and initiated him into the practice of Siddhanta Yoga. The following verses are from Pambatti Siddhar's song of the snake charmer, the golden feet of the casual guru who lives with the primal cause beyond the kalpas, aeons, and whose body never perishes or the only refuge. Praise them and with your whole heart. Dance, sneak, dance. Verse number 18, Buck, page number 152. While this song is outwardly addressed to the snake, inwardly it is addressed to the listener's soul. The snake is our soul. The feet represent the grace of God. This mode of indirect address permits the Siddha to communicate in terms which he could not normally get away with, guiding us onward to realization. The Guru is the cause of both wisdom and release for the disciple. He is none other than God, the primal cause of all existence. The Guru and the Creator are one and the same, and both are forms of Lord Shiva, who is beyond form and formlessness. The Siddhas, Yoga and Medicine. Ever since the dawn of civilization, man has been striving to unravel the mysteries of nature and to understand the structure and purpose of his being. The Siddhas' metaphysical research was not diverged from their discoveries in the field of medicine. Some of them achieved mastery over nature through yoga and through medicine. The Siddhas or perfected ones developed a system of medicine known as the Siddha system of medicine, which can be traced to the pre-Vedic period. The word Siddha is derived from its root. The Siddhi, which generally refers to the perfection of the aims of yogic self discipline or to one of the eight kinds of supernatural powers attainable by man. Using these powers, they undertook a systematic study of nature and its elements, and from what they were able to grasp, they developed a highly systematized medicine. They left behind a large body of knowledge recorded on palm leaves manuscripts, which were passed down and transcribed from one generation to another of hereditary families of physicians. Those authored by Agastya, one of the greatest of the Siddhas, are listed in a subsequent chapter on him. The first medical treatise was by Siddhanar or Shivanar and contained 7 lakhs stanzas. It was followed by the works of many other Siddhas, including Agastya, Nandi, Sant Kumar, Tirumular, Patanjali, Pulasithiyar, Kalangi, Bhoganather, Kuruvurar, Dhanvantari, Sattamuni, Terayar, and Idaikadar. The means of curing diseases are according to Tirumular. First, herbs, Mulikai. Second, consolidated salts known as Uppu, prepared using rock salt and the juice of herbs such as Ponganiya, Pinnata, Pungu in Tamil, and fungus, Kalan in Tamil, Fuller's earth, and camphor. 3. Acids, Thinir. 4. Fasting, Upavasam. 5. Body components, Udar, Porul. 6. Arsenics, Padanam. 7. Metals reduced to a powder through calcination, Lokam. 8. Extracts or essences, Sattu. 9. Mercury pills, Rasa Kulikai. 10. Yoga, including physical postures of relaxation, meditation, and mantras. Velan, 1963, page number 131. Pillai, 1979, page number 432. Spiritual or magnetic healing is also used by the Siddhas with great effort. To open hospital was regarded as one of the sacred 32 charities. Feeling the pulse to diagnose diseases is a highly developed art and science in the Siddha system with as many as 40 different characteristics recognizable by skilled Siddha physicians. The eyes, tongue, urine, excrement, body, touch, and sound are also observed. Pillai, 1979, page number 432-33. 2. Rejuvenate the body and to bring about its immortalization, special Kaya Kalpa treatments were developed by the Siddhas. These included preservation of vital energies of the body by diverting the internal secretions through controlled breathing exercises, pranayama, and hatha yoga. Conservation and transmutation of sperm and sexual energy through Kalibeki and tantric yoga practices. Use of these consolidated mineral salts known as muppu, prepared according to elaborate processes. Use of calcined powders prepared from metal and minerals such as mercury, sulfur, mica, gold, copper, iron, etc. Use of drugs prepared from certain rare Indian herbs. Whelan, 1963, page number 133. The reader will perhaps find it odd to learn that the Siddhas' mastery over nature came as a result of two seemingly unrelated subjects, yoga and medicine, particularly in the West in modern times, where everything becomes a field of specialization. The integrating of the spiritual and the scientific may appear to be impossible. The Siddhas were scientists, particularly in their investigations into chemistry, astronomy, plants, human anatomy, and physiology. They applied their extraordinary powers developed through intensive yogic practices to research these areas on atomic and universal levels without the use of sophisticated equipment. The aim of the Siddha system of life is that man must reconcile the antagonistic tendencies of his earthly individual nature and of his divine transcendent essence by satisfying the antithetical claims of both spheres, the natural and the supernatural, the phenomenal realm of body and psyche, and the imperishable essence which forms man's inherent being. He is enjoined not to disregard earthly well being in his pursuit of beatitude, on the other hand, only insofar as he is able to bring about a union with the transcendental essence inhabiting his own nature and the universe, will he be able to ensure for himself the health and well being and so keep himself immune to assaults from diseases and evil passions which threaten his life and well being. The view is summarized by the definition of medicine given by one of the greatest of the Siddhas, Tirumular. Medicine is that which treats the disorders of the physical body. Medicine is that which treats the disorders of the mind. Medicine is that which prevents illness. Medicine is that which enables immortality. Whelan, 1963, page number 4. How advanced was the Siddhas' conception of medicine when compared to that of modern medicine, which only in this century has included mental illness within its scope of treatment and has not yet begun to conceive of physical immortality. In developing and experimenting with the yogic kriyas techniques, the Siddhas acquired much knowledge of human anatomy and physiology, as well as in the fields of medicine and the process of rejuvenation. The Siddha system of medicine or Siddha Vidya, as it is commonly known, is today one of four systems of medicine recognized officially in India. The others are allopathy, Western medicine with emphasis on drugs and surgery, Ayurvedic, the indigenous medicine as developed particularly in northern India, and Unani, the indigenous Muslim medicine derived from the Greeks, Persians, and Arabs. Siddha Vidya contains many remarkable cures for ailments which other systems are unable to heal. The Siddhas, such as Tirumular, developed medicine as an adjunct to their mystic yoga practices. Some parts of the body were exercised by the aspirant in a particular fashion in the performance of yogic austerities. Such parts reacted adversely because of the stress and strain of practice. Illnesses sprang up and impeded the progress of the aspirant. He had to temporarily cease his practice, devise ways and means to cure the ailments which had crept in, and then resume his practice. The ancient Siddhas, in the manner, came by a knowledge of medical science which surpassed the then known knowledge of all the learned doctors in the field. The Siddhas knew all about the anatomy of the body and the functions of its various parts. Thus, it was easy for them to compound medicine to remedy any type of ailment. The Siddhas' knowledge of human anatomy was vast. Their single minded concentration was unique. So, when they set out to perform any work, it was achieved with perfection. Their literature on medicine also grew in volume as time advanced. However, the Siddhas were a close knit community and preferred to preserve their knowledge of initiates. Their formula was reduced to codes and symbols, and their literature was steeped in mysticism. As can be expected, only a Siddha can decode the writings of a Siddha. For the non initiate, their writings are like hieroglyphics on an obelisk. A trained eye can detect in Tirumular's Thiruvamandiram all the requisite information pertaining to human anatomy. A beginner cannot come by an appreciable knowledge even if he goes through the work 100 times. Much remains to be decoded for Tirumandiram from the standpoint of medical science. This effort is yet to commence. Metaphysics and medicine. In teaching man to regard his physical and psychic organism as the perfectly functioning vehicle of the divine life spark within the Siddhas demonstrated how medicine may work in unison with metaphysics. Medicine provides man with a necessary and adequate instrument towards gaining the most highly valued of experiences, the very essence of reality. The primary dignity of medical knowledge centers in its metaphysical aim to provide a sound physical basis for the realization of divine truth and to help man to attain the statues of the enlightenment, the sage and the saint, which complying with the demands of secular life. Thus, medicine aids man in bringing to maturity the quiescent gem of divine being in his perishable body. Only by caring for his mortal vehicle is man able to arrive at the realization of his highest potentialities. Ancient chemistry, although chemistry has come to be known as an exact science within a comparatively recent period, yet its origin dates back to the earliest times of philosophical study. The word chemistry is closely associated with that of alchemy. In a book on chemistry in modern life by the renowned Swedish chemist Stanley August, the author has justified the claims of India as the land in which the beginnings of chemistry as a science can first be traced. In the Siddha system, chemistry was developed as a science, auxiliary to medicine and alchemy. It was found useful in the preparation of medicines for curing all sorts of sufferings. spiritual as well as corporeal, and also in transmutation of baser metals into gold. The knowledge of plants and minerals was of a very high order. The processes like calcination of mercury, minerals, and metals, and the preparation of super salt known as muppu, animated mercury pills with high potency, possessing marvelous properties of transmuting metals and capable of rejuvenating the entire human system, were unknown to other medical systems of India or other countries. Using such special salts as well as herbal formula, the Siddhas developed the unique science of rejuvenation known as Kayakalpa, which allowed them to prolong their lives until the long-term efforts of Kriya Kundalini Pranayama and similar yogic practices could complete the process of transformation, bringing about physical immortality. Whelan, 1963, page number 122. Siddhas followed the ancient guru disciple apprenticeship method, and they revealed their secrets only to those students whom they felt could be trusted not to misuse the science, unlike the later Ayurveda school of textbooks methods. The dissemination of the science of Kayakalpa was limited to those great sages who were prepared to sacrifice their own interests for the uplifting of humanity. Current training and research on the Siddha system of medicine. The government of Tamil Nadu College of Science Medicine at Palayam Kottai, Tinnevelai district currently has over 500 students in a rigorous 4-year program leading to a Doctor of Medicine degree in the Siddha system. A second college has recently been opened in Palani, Tamil Nadu. Much work is now going on at the Tamil Nadu government's Siddha Medical Board Research Center in Arumbakkam, Madras, as well as at the Government College of Siddha in Palayam Kottai, Tamil Nadu, to determine the medical and rejuvenation formula described in the text of the Siddhas, Government of Tamil Nadu, 1986. Many hundreds of these ancient texts are in the hands of these organizations as well as in private collections such as those of the Saraswati Mahal Library in Tanjore, the Palani Temple Devasthanam, the Oriental Manuscript Library in Madras, and many Siddha Vaidyas, the traditional medical practitioners in southern India. Jewelable has identified a large number of Siddhas worked in unpublished form in the British Museum and in Copenhagen's Royal Library, and believes that others exist in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, Lisbon, and the Vatican Libraries. 1973, page number 219. After gathering and classifying all of these texts, a critical edition of at least the basic Siddha works may be envisioned. However, without the guiding inspiration of the Siddhas themselves, the result of such effort will remain limited. The Siddhas purposefully omitted key elements of their medicinal formulae from their texts, preferring to transmit these orally to worthy students directly so that they would not be exploited by persons whose motives were not the highest. The composition of the elixir of life described by the Siddhas thus remains an enigma. The deciphering of these formulae will require a multidisciplinary team of researchers with expertise in botany, the ancient language, yoga, and medicine, who will be able to fulfill the strict conditions of the Yoga Siddhas, including dedication to the ideals of yoga and the selfless service of humanity.